Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back. The Lead with Empower podcast is chugging along. Zack Morello and Dan Jaskot from Empower Leadership here with you today. This thing is going to come out right before, right after the Thanksgiving holiday. So for those of you celebrating, hopefully you enjoy it. Some fun time with family and friends. Probably a couple platefuls of good food as well. At least that's what I'm digging into. And hope you have it. If you're not celebrating, or whether you are or not, hopefully you have a nice little break from the hustle and the bustle of the school, work, sports schedule. Zach, what's cooking, man? How's everything going?
Everything's going well. I just realized now that you brought it up, some of the things that we're going to talk about in this episode can be used at your family dinner for Thanksgiving. So we could probably get into those details a little later on. That's funny.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So for today's episode, right, Zach? Again, you're in year one. You're getting closer to that 12-month mark of being with Empower Leadership, and obviously, as we discussed in our first couple episodes, our company does programming that focuses on community building, bringing people together, some of the collaborative teamwork and problem solving skills, and then obviously leadership skill development. And over the years of doing this type of work, and I'm sure you're seeing some of this stuff, we've seen many of our participants have somewhat of a, I guess, miscalculation of what effective leadership is. So I'm interested to hear kind of your thoughts, kind of coming from an outside industry into what we do. What in your first like 10, 11 months or 10, whatever it is, would have been some of the miscalculations, the misinterpretations about what effective leadership is that you've witnessed in our work this year in 2025 from our participants, and mind you, our groups range from like third, fourth grade up to adults. So this is not necessarily going to be probably a very targeted answer, but more in general. What are some of those things that you're seeing, Zach?
Yeah, I this comes from whether athletics or my past experience as a manager or wherever in a group setting, people will ask or think about what is leadership. And the generic answer people I always get and you always hear is that, oh, a leadership leads by example. And it's not wrong. It's not wrong. I always think of that little image of like the boss in the back of the carriage and whipping the people in the front to move forward, and then the boss at the front of the carriage helping them move along the task. So like the one that's barking orders or showing you how to do it, like that's what everyone thinks of for leadership, but it's much harder to put it in practice and like really utilize that idea behind that little image. And I think that one, the issue is people don't think about who the leader is going to be, like, oh, it's going to be that guy, it's going to be me, or like I think it just naturally happens based off of people's personality. And if it naturally happens, sometimes it's the loudest person in the room, and that's not always the best choice.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna lie, I'm sometimes the loudest person in the room, and I might not be the best choice for the task or the best leader that there should be for what we're trying to accomplish. So the most outgoing and the loudest person from all of my experiences, especially with our Empower programs, always comes out and tries to be on top as the leader. And one of the first lessons that were first facilitations that we go through is that might not be the best choice.
Yep. Yep. And then, it's interesting too, because especially working with youths, right? Late elementary, middle school students will, when we talk about, hey, we're here, we're going to be doing some activities with you focused on leadership development. Like, what's leadership mean to you? And a lot of times the answer is like, oh, it's a person who can lead, like you said, lead by example. Oh, it's a person
Hmm.
who helps other people perform their best, or helps other people get things done, or gets a group organized and gets everybody kind of pulling in the same direction. And which is all accurate information.
Yep.
But what we see again, especially in not maybe not just in the youth groups, but in most of our groups, as soon as people start to over focus on what they are doing to affect the people around them, they start to lose sight of what are they doing to lead themselves. And one of the ways we try to kind of clear up the muddy waters of what leadership is and how to define leadership is we'll look at it in three levels, right? So level two, we'll kind of go to the middle level to start. Level two is leadership of others. And
Hmm.
99% of the time when we ask a group like, hey, what's your definition of leadership, or what are characteristics of leadership, their entire focus, the vast majority of the answers are what's one individual doing for a group of people, right? So with empower leadership, we firmly believe before you can effectively be a great level two leader, you have to be able to lead yourself. So
Yep.
level one is internal leadership of self, and we talk a lot about it's the stuff that goes on in our heart and our mind. How are we holding ourselves accountable? How are we holding ourselves to the standards of whatever responsibilities we have in a given group setting? Do we set goals for ourselves, and do we kind of map out some sort of path towards achieving those goals? How are we managing, like, oh, Zach said something to me that I didn't really appreciate. Do I spout off back at him, or do I handle it in a little bit of a different manner?
I was just going to elaborate on that last one when it comes to leadership of self is you might think that you check all these great boxes as a leader. Like, yes, I'm good at this. I'm good at this. I can handle this. But it's really, really when you react to something. What's your gut reaction to a loss, to a win, to someone doing something wrong, to you doing something wrong? What is your gut reaction? And are you pointing and yelling and blaming, or are you like, okay, cool, let's figure out what happened, talk about it and try to fix it the next time. That's really how we lead ourselves of like what's your initial reaction to something bad or something good? What are you going to do?
Yeah, and that all falls under like, and we're going to get into this kind of concept in our next episode, but this idea of controlling the controllable, which is a phrase you turn on the TV and you watch sports, you hear it. You talk to managers of adult corporate teams, you hear a phrase like that or the exact
Hmm.
phrase. So for those of you listening, right, if your desire is to be able to lead a group of people, whether it's in school, sport, work, whatever it might be, take that step backwards and ask you, like, what am I doing to lead myself effectively? How am I handling internally my responsibilities, the accountability side of things, the purpose and vision that I'm living with every day, right? Do I get up and just try to survive the day, or do I get up and say, you know what, by the end of the day I'm looking to accomplish this. This is how I'm going to do it. And this is how this one days of work is going to lead me towards achieving a bigger goal that's a little bit more long term in vision. So
Hmm.
again, breaking it down, we have level one, leadership of self. That is entirely internal, heart and mind, preparing for success, handling adverse moments, not running away from challenges just because it's a little bit uncomfortable or a little bit challenging to you. And then setting some sort of course of action for yourself, so you're not just kind of wading through the day, hopefully surviving, keeping your head afloat over the course of a day, a week, a month, a year, etc. Our
And
second
like that's,
level,
I was
yeah,
gonna say, like that's super important too, of just having set goals for yourself for the day so that something when it does go wrong that's out of your control doesn't ruin the rest of your day.
yep,
Like for instance, you've heard people like, I spilt my coffee, got a flat tire, and I tripped over the sidewalk all before 8 a.m. My day's ruined. Like that's some really unfortunate, like sorry that happened, but like how are you going to react to those things, those domino effect of everything happening that's negative for the rest of your 18, 16, 15 hour day? Is
yep,
it's not ruined. Like this is what you can, like you said, control.
yep. And it's an
Yeah.
opportunity, right? So it's an opportunity to be like, all right, I'm right out of the gate, I'm hit with an adverse moment, or in your example, three adverse moments. Like,
Yeah.
and I would almost like lean into like react versus respond, right? React is
Mm.
almost like this visceral like reflex. And a lot of times when we react without thought, sometimes our decision is going to be the wrong decision. We might get a little bit overly reliant on the emotional side of things. Yeah, I'd be pissed off too with a flat tire, pour coffee all
Spilled
over myself,
coffee.
which I might have done that once or twice.
Yep.
And then tripping over a sidewalk in front of people. Like, yeah, I'd be pissed off, and if I react emotionally, it's probably going to add to that pile of negative that's starting off my
Negative.
day,
Right.
versus kind of, again, like having that, like, all right, let's pause and take a breath. All right, this happened, this happened, this happened. What's a good, efficient response that's going to get me back on that path, right? Get me back on that
Hmm.
path for whatever I'm trying to accomplish that day. Um,
Yep.
and then, so we got level 1, self.
Yeah.
Level 2, others. Again, the level 2 leadership of others is kind of the dictionary definition that most people think of when we ask of what leadership is. And then the third level is a little tougher to manage, and it's a little tougher to teach, is this idea, level 3, leadership culture building. And it's difficult mainly because it's all about, like, what's an individual doing now in a certain environment with a certain group of people that individual might not see the impact or effect of. So, like, hey, for example, if you're a senior on a sports team, you're playing your last season, you might be inching towards your last game. Like, what are you doing now that's going to serve the sport program that you've been a part of for 3 years, that's going to serve them far beyond your time in the program? Like, you
Yep.
graduate, are you leaving a positive impact? Are you leaving maybe a negative impact on the group of people that are still going to be involved in that program afterwards? So for those of you looking to seek some clarity with regards to what leadership is, it's self, it's others, and then it's, what am I doing now to have a lasting impact on a group that I might not be part of next week, next year, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that last one, not only do people not think about it as levels, just what you think of a leader, you just think of like someone super loud, super, I mean, they could be good at their job and not the best leader, but whatever the case, when you break it down like that, I think that last one is the hardest because you're making an impact on a team where they can feel that leadership even when you're not there.
Yep.
And that's the ultimate goal. Like as a coach, you want to be able to lead your team throughout the seasons, but then they feel your leadership on the field when they can't play with you. You know that's the kind of leadership that you really want to be affected with or affected
Yep.
on.
And it all starts, again, the foundation of it is level 1, leadership of self, right? If you're not doing
Yep.
that effectively, you have less of a chance of impacting others, and you have less of a chance of impacting time and space, right? So, for those of you that are looking to find your footing as a young leader or a young professional, or a new captain in a sports team, whatever it might be, it all starts internally. Like, are you handling your business before you're starting to worry about what other people are doing? Now, and then if you are dominating this leadership of self concept, by default, you're leading by example. By default, you are, whether it's verbally or just by your actions, you're showing the people around you, like, this is what it should look, sound, and feel like when I'm not part of this group anymore, when Zach's not part of this group anymore, or whatever it might be. So if you're looking to gain some traction in leadership, it all starts internally with yourself, and the more you can master that, the higher likelihood you're going to be effective in leading others, and in leading some sort of program or team in the longer term.
Yep. I mean, if I could put you on the spot,
Yeah.
so this is one of those things that I've heard, a couple hundred times from you at these programs at the beginning, which is great, and like it sets the precedent of like what we're looking for from a team, regardless of what kind of program that we're at. What are some of the examples that you see? Doesn't matter which level of leadership that you use during the program.
Yeah, a lot of it is kind of based on the responses the participants are showing to us based on a scenario. So I'll touch on, I think, two quick ones. One, there's an activity that we run called In Plain Sight. And In Plain Sight is
Monster.
it's awesome. If it's not my
Yeah.
favorite activity, it's like the top three, right?
Yep.
But it's one of the few things that we do that's pretty much entirely focused on self. right?
Hmm.
Because it's an activity, it's an initiative that the way the rules and the parameters are set, it really, really minimizes any sort of collaboration between participants, and it really focuses on like, I'm trying to get something done. I'm the person that's dealing with some maybe emotional response to the situation, good or bad. I'm the one that has to put my foot down and decide like my plan isn't working. What sort of adjustment am I going to make? So I think one of the common responses I see in that activity is an over reliance on, hey, someone's going to do it for me. And
Yep.
we set the parameters in this game so it minimizes or even eliminates that element where, hey, you're gonna have to chase it down, right? If you really like in the game, without giving it away, that we hide a pen, right, in a area with a bunch of random equipment.
Bunch of obstacles. Yeah.
All they have to do is find the pen. However, so often we'll see participants in the circle still looking for the pen, but they have one eye on their friend who already found it. Like, who's going to give me that hint?
Hmm.
So it sets up some great facilitation around no one's going to give you a handout, right? So if there's something that you want to accomplish, if there's some sort of accolade you want to achieve or whatever it might be, or it might be a simple mini goal as part of a day, if you truly want it, it's on you to go get it. And that's one of the things that I love so much about In Plain Sight is it teaches that kind of go get it mentality. No one's going to
Hmm.
hand it over to you. And like, we'll use the example a lot of times, like, hey, any of you play sports? And we'll get a bunch of participants raise their hand. Like, next time you're in a competition, look at your opponent and say, hey, we're missing our best player, or we had a rough week of practice. You think you guys take it easy on us this week? And
Yeah.
I'll ask like students, like, what do you think the opponent's going to do? Oh, they're going to roll us even harder than they
Ease
were going to do
you
to begin.
up. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So no one's going to give you the easy out. It's on you to go earn whatever it is that you're chasing down. So that's
One
kind of a
thousand
common
percent.
thing from youth all the way up to adult that we see.
Yeah, and I'll
Um,
give even a smaller example. Like this one I learned straight from the Dan Jaskot book is when we have a group of 20, 30, 40 people, I'm like, all right, I need three captains. And then boom, like probably a quarter of the hands go up, like me, running up to me, like volunteering to be captains, and that's all you say at first, and then you pointed out, okay, they're the outgoing ones, they're the loud ones, and then I set the precedent of like, okay, these captains have to listen, remember,
yep,
and communicate what we're gonna say. Half or more than half hands go down like, oh, I have a bad memory. Oh,
yep,
I don't like I don't talk well in front of crowds, and like some of them are still outgoing and confident enough to keep their hand raised, like awesome. But what we end up doing is we weed out the ones that are just super outgoing and want to go and volunteer and don't realize like, oh wait, I have tasks that I am gonna have to do as a captain. Like, yes, of course, but if we don't say that, it's not gonna work. So if we just send the people with their hand raised up to the facilitator for listen, remember, and communicate, it's not gonna end up well. But we set calm the group down. Of it doesn't even matter the age, but calm the group down, talk about what takes to be a captain, of what they're going to have to do, and then they have to start thinking a little bit like, oh, okay, so there's more to this than just me being, the first hand up.
yep,
And it's, you could just see their mind working, like, okay, like what is really needed from me to be the captain. And then the next level is, I don't pick them, they have to pick their three too. So
yep.
like all of a sudden it sticks to the next level. Like, okay, do I have to put my hand down because I know that I can be a passive leader, which we'll talk about in a second, and let Joe Schmo go, and then it goes from there.
Yeah, which is really cool, and like a lot of times too. I love watching this dynamic play out because you're spot on. Like, hey, we need one leader from each team or two leaders from each team, and you'll like hands go up immediately. They have no idea what they're volunteering for. And again, a lot of times it's the loudest person in the group, or it's that person who, whether it's legit or not, have demonstrated some sort of alpha qualities, like loudest, smartest, best athlete, And it doesn't guarantee that they're going to be the best leader for the situation. It also doesn't guarantee that they're going to be the worst leader for the situation. So I think putting those parameters around it of, hey, these people that you're going to send up to us need to be able to listen, remember, and explain, communicate.
Hmm.
And what's cool to see is like some teams, and again, this happens with youths and adults, some groups will say, you know what? Zach is a great listener, but he's not that comfortable speaking up in front of the group. So we're going to send Zach up there. He's going to be the one that maybe is mostly responsible for like remembering the information. Okay,
Yep.
good. And then Fiona is really comfortable speaking up in front of a group. She might not be the best at remembering stuff, but if Zach is feeding Fiona some information, she's very comfortable and confident in presenting. So it's really cool, like without much coaching, to see groups almost like, all
Yeah.
right, there's three roles: listen, remember, and explain. Let's make sure we have one person that's that's going to be good at the listen part, one person that's going to be good at the remember part, and one person that's going to be good at the explain, communicate part. And say that they
Yeah.
almost like do this like role delegation without knowing they're doing some sort of role delegation.
Yep, 100%. And that's actually a good point. I forgot about how you can mix, or you can mix and match the responsibilities amongst the captains. Who says that
Yep.
you can't? And then like on the outside lines, when you and I see that happen naturally, we have the look where like, all right, we got a group here.
Yeah,
It's it's a
this could
good
be a
feeling
start
on
of a
our
really
end.
good program. Yeah.
Yeah. and
um
and they don't see that, but it's cool for us to be like, okay, there's some already good qualities that we're seeing for this program.
Yep. And then so we started the episode. We talked about kind of some of the misconceptions, or maybe just kind of narrow vision that people have about what like effective leadership is or what leadership is. One of the other um, concepts that comes up in a lot in our programs, I know you've heard this. I've heard this saying before, and the vast majority of participants like, oh, you're either a leader or a follower. You're either a leader or a follower. Oh,
Mhm.
you either get on the board, get in the car, or get out of the way. We've
Yeah.
heard all these like cliches over the years, and um, I disagree with that concept, right? And because again, I think it promotes like, oh, you're either a leader or a follower. Well, hey, if you're the quiet kid who's very cerebral and very thoughtful, you're a follower. You can't get in front of the group and lead, which is a crock. Right. And now we're taking leadership and we're limiting it to like a quarter of a group who's loud, super athletic, whatever it might be. Um, so again, trying to reshape how people think about what leadership is, instead of leader or follower, we'll break it down into three, right? Active leader. So your active
Hmm.
leader is your vocal person. And again, you don't want too many cooks in the kitchen. So in any given like team scenario, one or two active leaders will do the trick, right? The active leaders aren't responsible for having all the freaking ideas and solving all of the world's problems. However, they're responsible for almost facilitating the organization of the group. If Zach is in this active leadership position, he doesn't necessarily have to be the one that comes up with the idea, but maybe he's the one that's saying, all right, everybody, let's circle up. We're going to go around the circle. If anybody has any ideas, let's hear them. All right, cool. Make sure we're not talking over each other. Oh, I like that part of that idea. Does everybody else like that? All right, cool. Let's use that. So as an active leader, you're not necessarily 100% responsible for solving the problem and doing everything. However, you're kind of organizing and facilitating the team. Now, before we get to the follower side of things, the next element of being a leader in a group setting is being a passive leader. And well,
Hmm.
what's a passive leader? I always look at like the best dang teammate you could ask for, right? They're not worried too much about, saying stuff just so their voice is being heard. They'll speak up if they feel good about an idea, but they're not necessarily just going to shout stuff out because I want to say my piece. The
Hmm.
passive leader is that one like, hey, Zach, let me know what I need to do to help our team be successful, and I'm going to do it to the best of my ability. Right? I'm going to be the
Hmm.
best dang teammate you could ask for. Right? And if it's not going right, let me know and I'll fix it. So now you have this dynamic, say it's a group of 20, 25 or whatever. You have one or two people that are very active, they're vocal, they're getting things organized, they're facilitating the idea sharing process, they're facilitating like, all right, cool, we have all these ideas, we're going to cram them together, this is our plan. Ideally, The rest of the team are the rest of the team is made up of these passive leaders. What do I need to do to help us achieve? It's not what do I need to do to help me achieve. um,
Yeah.
and they're really willing to like do a role that's maybe not that desirable, right? They're going to do
Hmm.
whatever it takes to help the team. And then now getting to followership. Followership to me is, if I said to Zach, "You're such a great follower," to me it doesn't give me the warm and fuzzies. Like I don't know, I don't see that as a compliment. So to me,
Yeah.
a great follower is a great passive leader, right? I'm locked in. I'm listening intently. I'm asking questions if I don't understand. I'm really
Hmm.
embracing my role and my responsibilities, and I'm doing them to the best of my ability because I know it's going to help us. Follower, I always look at it as like you're trying to go out for like a mile run and you got a 50-pound weight around attached to your waist that you're trying to drag.
Yep.
Like, so follower is like
Dead
that
weight.
person
Yeah.
that's maybe not doing their part to the fullest extent, and someone else has to pick up their capacities. So
Right.
when you look at a team dynamic, active leader, one or two, right? Any more than that, then you're going to see a lot of conflict because you're going to find people fighting for airspace. Passive leader is the desired position if you're not in that active leadership role. And then whatever you do, avoid being a follower. Because when you're a
Hmm.
follower, someone else has to do part of what you're supposed to do. And then someone else is going to have to help that someone else do what they're supposed to do. And it fosters this like trickle down effect where I have like half of me focused on my job and half of me focused on picking up the slack for somebody else, and then someone else
Right.
has to pick up my slack and someone else has to pick up their slack, and it turns into this really vicious cycle of the blame game. Oh, it's
Hmm.
Zach's fault. No, it's so and so's fault. It's Dan's fault, and without people there to move the needle,
Right. And
keep the ball
I mean,
moving forward.
to go back to active versus passive too, and I get to follower in a second. I think that when people hear passive leader, they think it's less than, not equal to an active leader, and when in reality, it's the exact same. The word leader is still in the phrase passive leadership
Yep.
because you're making a conscious decision to help the team by doing the job that maybe not everyone wants to do, or by staying quiet and like, you know what, I'm better in this role, I'm more helpful at this point. And like if you realize this, you're making a leadership decision,
Yep.
period.
Yep.
And it's harder to get through, especially with the younger ones. Like you being a passive leader, sometimes it's harder than being an active leader.
Yeah, yeah, and especially like in the corporate setting where you'll have people that maybe have 15, 20, 25 years of experience in the industry, and it requires a lot of level one leadership, self-coaching to say, you know what? I'm a little out of my element right now, even though I'm the most tenured person on this team. The
Hmm.
best spot for me right now, and this is going to sound harsh and direct, but the best spot for me right now is shut up and be led.
Shut up. Yep.
Open your eyes and ears. We joke around with kids. We got two eyes on our heads, two ears on our heads, and one mouth. Use the eyes and ears 80%,
Yeah.
right? Because it's making up 80% of our noggins. So, um,
And I'll go ahead.
no, no, you're good. You're good.
I was gonna flip that as well as one. My last point is when I was let's say at the facility for managing my team of 30 or 50, and I have to be the active leader. I am the active leader. Like that was my role and what I was supposed to
The
do.
job you were hired
Also,
for. Yeah. Yep.
the job I
Yep.
was hired for. So active leader, boom, I'm there 99% of the time. And then I'm like, okay, I have a meeting with corporate. I'm going to the owners of the company. I have to, present and be at literal the table. So it goes from me being an active leader to being at a table with 10 other active leaders plus the management of the entire company. So I have to go from active to passive. I'm like, okay, I'm in a room with people that have more experience than me, that have that 26 years of doing what I did already. I'm going to make the decision, even though I'm so used to being active, to be passive because I can learn something today. If I try to stay in my active, aura and role, I'm just going to be a loudmouth because like, what is this guy talking about, And I'm comfortable enough to speak up if I have questions or if I wanted to say
Yep.
something. Like that's their job to make me comfortable enough to say something. But for the most part, I wanted to stay quiet because like, you know what, I'm going to learn something today.
Yep. Yep. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a great point over there. And it does take a delicate balance, right?
Right.
And just because you're an active leader in one environment doesn't mean you can't be an active leader in another environment. And it
Hmm.
doesn't guarantee you have to be a passive leader in that other environment. It's just kind of reading the room, being aware of the
Right.
situation, and probably like, and again, this will be something we get into, in a future episode, but like knowing your team, right? Knowing
Hmm.
where the strengths and weaknesses lie, knowing where your own personal strengths and weaknesses lie, and then as the yep, as the quote unquote leader of title, which you were in that position, right? Then it's your job. Like, all right, we need this right now. We need somebody to listen. So I'm going to fulfill that role as a passive leader. Or we really need somebody to move the needle and get things rolling forward. I'm going to jump into that active position. So, breaking down leadership a little bit for those of you listening. And one of the things that we're always going to try to do in our podcast episodes is give you some sort of little takeaway, whether it's an activity, initiative, or something, some self-development that you can work on. So a couple things. First takeaway, if you're in any environment that's a team environment, remind yourself that before you can effectively lead others, you have to be able to master the self leadership, level one leadership of self. So making sure what you're preaching to your team, making sure you're doing that, making sure that if you're asking people to kind of go above and beyond, you're the first one showing how it's done. Make sure that if you're looking for people to own and take on more accountability, you better hold yourself to accountability standards as well. So really start to lean into, am I handling my business before I start to interject myself in other people's business? That's takeaway number one. Takeaway number two, and this is a little bit of a challenge to our listeners here, right? We all know, like, hey, I'm really comfortable being a passive leader. I'm really comfortable listening, taking in information, and just doing my job to help the team, or vice versa. I'm really comfortable standing in front of the group and getting everybody organized, active leadership. Find time. Find time at some point to do the opposite, right? If your comfort zone level is being that active vocal leader, find an opportunity tomorrow, next week, whatever it might be, to put the shoe on the other foot and be a passive leader, and vice versa, right? If you're normally passive, find an opportunity to step up and be that active vocal leader. That does two things. One, when we do things that are out of our comfort zone, when we do things that are a little bit new to us, when we try to learn a new skill, it helps us become a better version of us, right? And so put kind of taking in that other side and being in that other role that you're not used to doing, it's going to help you become a better leader. It's going to help you become a better student, better athlete, better team member, whatever it might be. The second thing that it does, it offers, and again, this helps with our own development. It offers you that unique perspective. If I'm normally the one calling the shots, active leader, I might be missing the mark with my communication. I might be missing the mark with my, like, do people know their roles, or is it kind of ambiguous? People are unsure what their roles and responsibilities are. When you're in that other role, it gives you the unique perspective. Like, if I switch from active to passive leader in this environment, and now I'm listening to Zach give me information, Zach taking on this active leadership position, it's going to open my eyes to, like, wow, Zach explained this thing the same way I would have, and I don't really understand it. So maybe I need to do some self-development on how I can communicate better to my team. And the only way to kind of figure that out is to put the shoe on the other foot and experience
Hmm.
life from the other side of leadership. So those are a couple challenges for you. After hearing this information, making sure you're handling your business and find opportunities to put the shoe on the other foot. If you're normally active, find an opportunity to be a passive leader, or vice versa. And what you'll find is your leadership overall will grow and develop and become stronger from getting out of your comfort zone and doing that stuff that's a little bit awkward and uncomfortable for us in the beginning.
That's it.
Love it. Love it. Hey, what's this, episode 4? Episode 4 in the books. Lead with Empower podcast. Check it out on our YouTube channel. And also, if you're on social, follow us on Instagram. Lead with Empower is our handle. We're staying active. It's November. We have a ton of great programming coming up. We're going to be at the Connecticut Parks and Rec Association, or Connecticut Recreation and Parks Association conference at Mohegan Sun during Thanksgiving week. We have 18 programs on the books for December. So Zach, looking forward to finishing 2025 strong with you, and looking forward to our next episode.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dan.
Thanks, bud. Talk to you soon.